There are talks underway, it seems, for Formula One to return to India. The Indian government initiating talks led by their sports minister, who I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. This proposed return would take place at the Bood International Circuit, which would be a welcome. It is a purpose-built circuit, not one of those awful street circuits that we keep seeing being added to the F1 calendar. However, this circuit already hosted 3 F1 Grand Prix in the early 2010s, and they didn't go particularly well. The biggest problem with this circuit is one of those wretched Herman Tilke designed tracks, and it always follows the same pattern, as he tried to monopolize basically every circuit to look like the same. One long straight, which means often just DRS easy passes, and then the rest of the lap are fun corners for qualifying but useless for overtaking. Now this would go along with F1's Asian expansion they're looking for at the moment. Recent efforts mainly focused in the Middle East and USA. There have been talks of Thailand, maybe Malaysia even returning, but India would also make sense. 2/3 of the world's population are Asian, but 18% of the world's population are Indian. It is the most populated country in the world. That same logic should have applied when F1 raced there from 2011 to 2013. In fact, F1 had been setting up for this return. There was an Indian team on the grid, owned by the tycoon billionaire Vijay Mallya. Force India, they even added the country's name, and they even had a couple of drivers, Narain Karthikeyan and Karun Chandok. However, both these drivers were backmarkers and failed to make any real imprint on the grid, apart from the times Karthikeyan took out leaders. Ultimately, the races failed. They weren't captivating, the circuit wasn't particularly good, and fans did not become interested in an Indian team or the 2 Indian drivers who one of them wasn't on the grid anymore by the time the race came along. And even when Karthikeyan came in as a one-off return for the Indian race, it just didn't work. It didn't help the race that Sebastian Vettel was on a mission, it seems, at that stage to try and ruin every single new F1 race at the time. He won all 3 of them easily. The only memorable moment from any of those races being him sealing his 4th world championship doing donuts. And that was the last time F1 ever raced in India. Afterwards, there was a tax dispute between authorities and F1 over whether or not F1 should be granted as an entertainment spectacle or a sport. This is ridiculous. Of course F1 is a sport. How could they doubt it? But alas, this dispute could not be resolved and F1 was gone from India. Or was it? Despite the absence of any Indian drivers or teams in the grid, it saw a resurgence in the early 2020s. Particularly around Max Verstappen's 2021 World Championship charge, as you see those videos online of Indians cheering him on as he went towards his World Championship. And again, this is a country of 1.4 billion people. Surely there's enough of them to fill the grandstands on a Sunday. A return of F1 to India is possible, but it may need to wait till the next decade. Ideally, there probably needs to be some circuit modifications towards this track, particularly in the second half of it.